This is Bailey
And this is Taylor.
with Two Idiots, One Podcast. And before we start today, I want to tell you guys a little story about something that happened to me this week.
Oh, great.
I gathered my friends up and I was like, we're going to go on a little road trip. So we all hopped in my RV and we started cruising down the road. And then the next thing you know, deer pops out in the road.
Hold on. Where were you going? That's the important part. Because you gathered your friends in an RV. And also, why wasn't I invited to this? Like, I didn't get the invite. Although I did see you post about it on, I think, like Instagram. You made a video and everybody was saying hi and waving. I saw that. Don't know why I wasn't in it. Just saying next time it'd be nice, but
Well, I could tell you why you weren't in it,
why?
but that would be a little bit of a spoiler.
A spoiler? Okay, that's fine. Well,
Today, the movie we're about to talk about, if you haven't caught the reference by now, is a classic horror story, which is a 2021 Italian horror film, which was written by Roberto de Feo, Paolo Strippoli, Lucio Bissana, David Bellini, and Milo Tissone,
I think
which
it's
I
Milo.
definitely might have. It very well could be. I could have pronounced those names wrong, and if I did, I apologize.
That's okay. We are obviously not Italian,
Yes.
but I do respect the Italian culture and heritage and Italian food. Like, I love Italian food,
Absolutely.
except for marinara sauce. Really don't like marinara sauce.
See, I love marinara sauce, but I drink a lot of beer and the two don't mesh well together.
That sounds disgusting. Like, honestly, it really does. I don't know. I'm not like a marinara. Like, if I get a pizza, my ideal perfect pizza is a chicken bacon ranch where there's ranch instead of marinara sauce.
Ranch is vile.
No, it is not. Ranch is the greatest thing. All right, I'll drink to that.
Dog, we need to have ranch wrestling just so you can see how gross it is. But
But no, we don't.
yeah, no, but
No.
I want you to think about this. So mud wrestling, mud's kind of gross, but because the ladies are generally, attractive, it makes it to where it's like a cool, attractive thing. It's like cool. People like to watch it. But I argue that ranch is so gross that no matter how attractive the girls wrestling in the ranch are, it wouldn't be comparable to mud wrestling. It wouldn't be as fun because everyone would know it was nasty.
So then, what do you dip your fries in?
Mustard.
What do you dip your chicken strips in?
Honey mustard.
So you're a mustard person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, look, mustard's good. I get it, but ranch. And there's several different layers of ranch. Like, have you ever had Mazzio's ranch?
No, because ranch is gross.
Okay, ranch is not. Anyway, we'll focus now.
Yeah.
Debate this later. You can voice your opinions on whether you think Taylor's right because ranch is the greatest thing in the world, or if Bailey's right because ranch sucks.
It is pretty unpleasant.
Yeah, put that in the comment section down below.
But so the movie we're going to be talking about today is a classic horror story, and I personally liked it. I thought it was pretty good. If I had to rate it on a 1 to 5 scale, I would probably give it
Roger Ebert scale is what we're going to call it.
the Roger Ebert scale.
Because I hate him.
I would probably give it around a 3. I could probably be argued up to a 3.5, but because of how it played its hand early, it kind of diminished the score for me.
I'm kind of right there with you. I'm really debating between a 2.5 and a 3. I'll probably just for argument's sake do a 3. I mean, I do agree that it played its hand, and I'm going to. I mean, we'll talk about the ending obviously later when we start to spoil things. But yeah, there are a few things that I thought could have been better about it, and some things that I really enjoyed.
There were a lot of things I really enjoyed.
There were also a lot of things that I really didn't enjoy, but we'll get to that in the review. So let's just give a brief little outline. Like, what is it? What's this movie about? Oh, you want me to do it?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So this movie is about this girl whose name is
Elise.
Elisa. Anyway, however you pronounce her name. And it is very obvious from the get-go. One thing that I just want to point out is the opening shot. We'll just kind of like skip ahead. We'll get back to this because I just think it's funny. But the opening shot of her just puking. Okay, it's obviously implied that she's pregnant. There is no movie where a woman pukes and she isn't pregnant. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
That's generally what that indicates.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are we doing that? But we'll get into that later because that is a lot of cliches. But it's about this girl, and she's going to get an abortion. Basically, is what we find out later. But she's doing it to go with her mom, and in order to get there, she is a rideshare service. I don't remember what it's called, but basically, this dude is getting these people together in his RV that he borrowed from his mom. Fabrizio, and he is taking them to their destination. And there are 5 of them. They do not know each other. They all came together through this app. There's Elisa, who is
Elisa, the final girl.
the final girl, yeah, the main girl. There's the British guy.
Mark and his girlfriend. I don't think he's British.
He is. He's 100% British. She even says so.
Oh.
Yeah. And you can tell because when it does that weird transition from Italian to English
Yeah.
randomly. We'll talk about that. Fabrizio, who is the driver and is making this weird blog. Like, he kind of comes off creepy because he films everybody and says that he's making a video diary.
It's a travel blog.
Travel blog is what it is.
It's called Fabrizio's Friends.
Really weird name. Fabrizio is just a weird name because it's like Febreze. But anyway, and then there's also this doctor who you can tell has gone through some serious shit because of how he is quiet and says, "I don't want to be filmed."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then basically what happens is they crash after that because Mark's an asshole and finds beer in the back, gets drunk, and then says, "I'm driving." So Fabrizio's like, whatever, and then him and Fabrizio are talking. A dead deer pops in the middle of the road because it's nighttime. Like
I don't know that it was a deer.
it looked like a deer.
No, some kind of obstruction.
An animal.
And it causes Fabrizio to take the wheel and crash into the tree while blaming Mark when they all wake up in the ensuing.
It's like a grove or.
Yeah, it's a grove.
And a random house.
Everyone appears to not know where they are.
And I will, so we can start reviewing it now, I guess. So that first shot that they open with the girl being tortured, okay? Oh my god.
I really like the music.
I really love the music throughout this whole movie. That's one of the things that immediately caught my attention. In places it is super creepy. It is super eerie, and I think that it's perfect. There wasn't one time that I felt like the music was out of place.
Exactly. Like whoever did the sound and the composing for this, in my opinion, did a really, really good job.
Oh yeah, 100%. One thing that I will say is that opening scene I really liked. I didn't like how it was immediately followed up with watching a girl vomit. That was kind of like, okay, those are the striking differences. But one thing that I do want to say is when they're going around the mountain, the score and that shot
was a beautiful shot.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, that was perfect in my opinion. What do we get?
Well, immediately the thing that caught my attention beyond, the opening scene, but I really enjoyed the dialogue. Like, there were lots of references to, like, historical horror movies. Like, there was an Evil Dead reference when they were talking about Sam Raimi. And then Fabrizio does a Child's Play reference when he ends his podcast, Fabrizio's Friends, with, "We'll be friends till the end."
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't catch that one.
And all of that, like, paired together, like, just to me made, like, a really good opening scene. And it set the tone of the movie really well because it was riddled with tropes and cliches, which me as a horror fan, I loved. I feel like that this is a love letter written to all of the classic horror.
If I had to summarize this movie, if someone was like, "What is this movie?" I would say it's a not funny Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it's the Italian version of Cabin in the Woods,
but not funny. Nothing about this movie was funny.
I
Cabin in the Woods was overly stupid in times and was funny.
I disagree. I thought there were various funny parts, like the dialogue between Fabrizio and his sister.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that. But basically, don't want to jump too far ahead. So they crash and they wake up in this grove and nobody knows what's going on. Mark's legs broke. Something happened, and you obviously know that he's going to die because his leg is broke. Like, come on, that's a given. And then they find this really creepy house, kind of like in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But so one of the things that I really liked about the house was when they first see it, the door is locked and they cannot get in. They're searching, they're trying to find a way in there, but this thing's not budging. So they say, "Well, fuck it, let's just go back to the RV and wait. We don't know how we got here. We'll figure something out. We can't leave Mark alone." And then eventually, a few things happen. Like they have some dialogue, and what is it? Fabrizio and the doctor go out to the woods and find severed pig heads, but they're fresh. They are certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes,
Not a splat here.
which causes him to like freak out. And what is it, like the three kings, three knights, the guardians?
Yeah. And basically, or that's what they represented,
It's like deformed scarecrows
basically.
is what it is. It's really weird. So then they like fuck off, and while this is happening, Elisa looks, and the door is magically open to this cabin. So she's fucking stupid, and tries to get the attention of Mark's girlfriend, who is passed out with Mark. And then she's like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go myself." So she does. She fucking goes to this fucking creepy house, which I loved the atmosphere on that house, right?
Yeah, no, the atmosphere is really good. It's something that I thought was done really well in the first half of this film.
Oh yeah, no. So my big problem, and I'll get to it, but one thing that I thought was really cool is Fabrizio, while they're walking, says, "Oh, what's that line? I watched this American movie where the people are dead and they don't know that they're dead, and they keep repeating the same things over and over again." And my first thought when they ended up in that grove was, they're dead. This is like a purgatory hell type thing. They are dead.
So, because of some of Fabrizio's dialogue in the beginning, I thought really early on that he was likely gonna um, end up betraying them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I didn't think they were dead at all. I was under the impression that something had happened to like the drinks, which progressing a little bit further after various deaths and interesting scenes like Mark's death, where he is basically strapped to the table and his eyes are removed.
We'll get to that one. Let's just do it in order. Because what happens is Mark is left there, and then eventually Fabrizio comes and gathers everybody and shoves them up to the attic, where they find the Wicker Girl, whose tongue's cut out, she can't talk, and then all of a sudden it gets really fucking creepy, Silent Hill, and the horns are blaring, the red lights are on. Oh my god. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how creepy that was?
Absolutely.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It was very reminiscent of like almost like the Purge siren that went off. And when it went off, everyone started to freak out. The lights went red.
Right.
And the reaction that everyone had was, oh, something bad's about to happen. And that's when they see these three men.
I wouldn't even call them men. They're like things.
Yeah, beasts,
entities, whatever. Because Fabrizio finds this weird, creepy thing, and so this is the thing that kind of gave it away for me, that he was going to betray them, because they find this blood mural with a lot of creepy photos of farm people. And they find this blood mural of these three guys, and he goes on to tell this elaborate story about how in the 15th century there were these three brothers, and they had a sister who was raped. So they killed the rapist, and then they were sent to prison. And then after they got out, they had made this code to live by. And what had happened was they had formed this, or no, that was, hold on, I'm getting confused. That's the actual story. What he says is, we'll get into that later. But what he says is that these three entities came for these starving farmers who were during a famine, and they said that we could help you. One of them cannot see, the other one cannot speak, and the final one cannot hear. And they said, in order for us to fulfill your needs of your crops, you need to give us eyes, a tongue, and ears of a person.
Yeah.
So they make a sacrifice, and because they made a sacrifice, they're doomed for all eternity, to where these entities continue to
make
demands of sacrifices. And I kind of got tipped off that he was the one because he's the only person who knows about it and immediately says, my grandma used to tell me stories about this.
Right.
And I'm thinking, because one of the lines in there is, your grandma must be pretty messed up then, because she's telling you these stories. And I'm like, yeah, dude, there's obviously something with this guy.
Right.
So then that happens. The three dudes come, and you wanted to talk about Mark's kill scene, so I'll let you talk about how brutal.
So Mark's kill scene was really fun. Essentially, what happens is everyone is inside. They've looked at the mural. They go up. They find the girl inside the wooden, essentially Wicker Man-esque in chamber, like entombed or encapsulated in this Wicker Man-esque.
With her tongue in the jar
next to
her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while they're up there is when the siren happens and, you know, the lights turn red and everyone starts freaking out and they see these brothers come and they enter the RV, which they can see through a window outside, and they pull Mark inside. It's pretty cool. And then they strap Mark down and they remove his eyes with this machine that they place over it, and they crank it and it slowly goes down. And it's so cool. There's a lot of blood, and it's consistently cutting between showing the kill and showing their reaction to the kill as they're watched. And I thought this was a really good directorial choice by Roberto De Feo and Paolo Strippoli.
Well, one of the things I really liked is they never actually show him dying. And I felt like that was paying homage to Texas Chainsaw, where it lets you think about what's going on and you form in your mind what happened, because it never actually shows him dying, but you can hear everything and you can see the distress on her face as the doctor guy throws his hand over her mouth to keep her from screaming, because he's like, you're gonna get us fucking killed.
Exactly.
And like, that was great.
Yeah.
They like drag his stupid ass off.
Yeah,
he's dead.
After Mark's dead, they drag him away. So when they exit, you know, all they see is the blood and the table he was strapped to.
Which I thought was great. I thought that made it a lot creepier.
Absolutely. Because they're like, oh no, what are they going to do with the bodies?
Right, it never explicitly says that. So, and then what ends up happening is it becomes daytime again. So they're like, oh, well, these things come at night. We need to find a way out of here. Then they end up walking in circles.
Yeah, but Fabrizio is like, I know directions and stuff, so I can lead us out of here, which, based on further information you'll receive later in the film, or assuming you've already seen it, then you know that Fabrizio was likely leading them in circles intentionally.
Right. Well, see, the thing that I also wanted to put together, and like, I really think that it would have been a cooler concept, and a better ending if they actually had have been dead. And because what I had in the way that my mind was working was they get into the accident, and the way that they, like, the order that they died is the order that they actually died in the crash. So Mark was the driver. He dies first. Well, and then obviously, you know, like, Fabrizio didn't die because he would have been second, or he could have like bled out or whatever. But I was like, okay, so they go through his eyes, which means that maybe like something went through his face, like a branch or something. That was my thought process, and I thought that would have been a cooler ending, but I digress.
That would have been cool, but it would have taken away from the social commentary, which is one of the things that I feel like this film was mainly made about.
Which was the Scream I would say that that's like a Scream reference because it was very meta heavy like Scream, and there's even one point that I would say is arguably very much Scream, where Fabrizio says after they drag Mark out and they go back to the RV before it becomes day, he starts saying, "I don't know why anybody isn't saying it."
But this is a classic horror story.
Yeah, this is a classic horror story.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Peter Griffin, where he's always like, "Oh," when they say the name of the film during the film.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that was.
Yeah, that was a moment that I was just like taken back and going, "Oh," because they did the thing. I love it when they did thing.
I do too. It's like one of my favorite things when they go the thing. Speaking of which, the thing is a great movie.
Absolutely.
Love that one. But anyway, they're leading them around, and then they find this like, is that a trope of the graveyard of cars?
I think so because that's explored in a lot of movies.
I just don't know where it originated from.
I mean I don't know when the original, but some movies that I can think of recently that they've done it is they did it in one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake sequels. I don't know if it was 2003 or 2006.
It's hard to keep up with those.
They also did it in The House of Wax with the dude from Supernatural.
That movie was fucking awful.
I actually really enjoyed it.
I hate that movie.
But that's also a trope in there.
Right. But that was before it became a trope, I guess. Or was that like...
Well, that was early 2000s. And
there were a lot of really big tropes that started in the early 2000s. Go ship.
Yeah.
Go ship. But so they're find this graveyard of cars, and ironically enough, the little girl that they find, they take her with her because they're like, oh yeah, we got to take this girl. And she finds this journal and starts writing stuff down. And the thing that got me that I'm like, oh shit, they're actually dead, was when she says, do you know how to get out of this forest? And then the girl writes down, this isn't a forest. I'm like, oh, they're in hell. This is the little girl is their like guide or something, is what this is, and she's trying to guide them like Virgil in Dante's Inferno. That's a Virgil, right?
Yeah.
That again, that's what I wanted.
Well, so the thing is, arguably in this she was Virgil because her and Fabrizio, because they were intentionally guiding the unknowing victims.
Oh, Alyssa wants to know, do you want food?
No, I'm okay. I'm gonna probably eat whenever I go do pinball.
That works. Well, yeah, there's that. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of weird that they find that and realize that they're not the first victims. There have been multiple. I mean, this is like a scene out of the fucking Walking Dead.
Exactly. And the little girl finds like Taylor said, she finds the journal, and it's revealed that it's her journal, and she shows Elise a picture of her family.
Oh yeah, she does, doesn't she?
Yeah, which because Elise is pregnant, or in my mind, because Elise is pregnant, this is intentionally used to like trigger like a maternal instinct, and that's why she cares for her.
I think this whole thing, and that's also why I kind of like thought they were dead, because she was going to abort
Her
the
child.
fetus,
Yeah.
and because of that, now she has to protect this child that could have been her child but isn't, and that's why I'm like, okay, so this child's gonna die, and that's gonna be her punishment.
Yeah. Like a sort of symbolism.
Yeah, again, didn't happen like that, but eventually what ends up happening is they go back, and Ricardo, that's his name, the Dr. Ricardo, he gets pissed. And I thought that he was going to fight Fabrizio because Fabrizio's apologizing. He's like, I thought this was the right way to go, because he's lying to them, obviously. And then they decide that they need to go back inside because somehow the RV has vanished. It just disappears when they get back. So they go back inside, and they find a bottle on the ground of beer, I guess is what it is. Some kind of alcohol. And they end up passing it around, and Fabrizio
Well, Fabrizio finds it, and he's like, "Oh, well, at least they forgot to
forgot
take
this.
this."
Yeah, and they start passing that around to celebrate, I guess, calm their nerves. I don't know. And he tells this really stupid joke about how some dude, he's from South Italy, and some dude from North Italy says that all South Italy people are from the mafia, and
Mafiosos.
mafiosos. Yeah, he doesn't even call it the mafia; they're mafiosos. And he says that, and he's like, "No, I'm not." And then the next day, the guy says it again, and he goes, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to have him killed."
That's not exactly how the joke goes, but
Well,
yeah,
it was a really shitty joke.
I thought it was funny. I
I didn't
laughed.
think it was funny at all. I was like, "This is fucking stupid."
Well, that's just because you're a cold-blooded individual, sir.
Apparently so. I was like, okay. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is they all go to sleep as Elise is telling the other girl about her childhood and experiences while stroking this little girl's hair. And then they end up hearing the sirens, which wakes them up. But, and this leads to one of my favorite, probably my all-time favorite shot of the whole film. Leads to the sirens going off. She jolts up and realizes that the girl, Mark's girlfriend, and the doctor Ricardo have been tied to stakes. Also, her name I can't pronounce it. It's like Chiara,
Yeah,
because she says she's not from Italy. She's from somewhere else. I don't remember where she says. And she met Mark studying abroad, basically.
yeah, exactly. In the U.S.
But Sophia is the little girl's name. I don't know
Yeah.
why we haven't been calling them by their names.
I don't know. That's Fabrizio's sister.
Yeah, but it's not revealed. That was the little girl, Sophia, and then they're tied to, so Ricardo and Chiara are tied to stakes, and in the middle is Sophia in her little wicker containment. And as soon as Elisa runs out, she just stops, and there is this mass of masked farm people,
And they all turn around
And-
slowly.
and stare at her while there's this like ritual going on. There's like fire in the background, and it's just a great scene. And then another Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage, I think, is when he busts through the door and grabs her and takes her back in, because
Exactly.
Fabrizio's like, "Nah, you need to get back in here." And
Exactly.
And then they proceed to rip out they cut Ricardo's ears off and rip out the eyes of Chiara, and then hold up the severed tongue of Sophia, and then slit their throats, all while Ricardo and Elisa are watching. And then Ricardo gets really weird. Not Ricardo.
Fabrizio.
Gets real fucking weird and goes, "Just hold me, Elisa. I'm scared." I'm like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, what are you?" It was so weird, and I think that's kind of what killed it a little bit, was how weird he got.
Well, at this point, Elise is clearly suspicious
Right, because
he's just being over the top, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And then she hears the earpiece.
after she grabs the bottle and says, "You drugged us. Why didn't we wake up?"
Yeah,
And he's denying it, and then they hug. She's like, "Okay, whatever." And he hears his hearing aid is what he claimed it was, but it's actually, like you said, a hearing piece, so that way he can communicate with people.
exactly.
And then he just starts going off about how she's ruined everything, and then take her. And then she wakes up. So, like, that was a Texas Chainsaw Midsummer reference,
Yeah, the dinner scene.
where her hands are, so Texas Chainsaw, as her hands have been nailed to the chair, and she's sitting at the end of the table, and then there's this really long group of villagers, I guess farmers, villagers, whatever you want to call them, that are eating.
With the mayor of the local town sitting at the far end of the table.
Who ends up explaining that she's in the mafia.
Yeah, and then they're all in on it.
Then that's how she takes care of these people, and you have to die in order for them to live.
Basically explaining the snuff film that they're making.
Right, which ends up being Fabrizio's mom.
Exactly.
Because then the police pull up. And so one of the funniest things, so Friday the 13th was also referenced in here, because it takes place at a summer camp. It's like the Three Kings camp or something.
Right.
So I was like, okay, Friday the 13th takes place at a summer camp. Maybe it was sleepaway camp. I don't know.
But I mean, well, it's just any of the campy '80s horror movies.
Right.
Like you could argue that it's any dozens of different references.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th. Go because fuck you.
Yeah, that feels the best.
Yeah. So then what ends up happening is she's placed in front of these TVs and Fabrizio pops up and like any good villain explains everything that I've been filming snuff movies and putting them on the internet and you're the star.
Exactly.
And then she decides that this isn't worth it, gets out of it, and then walks up to a trailer where Fabrizio is basically yelling at his sister, who is the little girl Sophia. And turns out she can actually talk. She has her tongue, and she's been in on it. So then Elisa gets pissed, finds a shotgun and a mask, and as soon as Sophia comes out of the door, she gets fucking blasted.
Keep in mind though that Elise is recording all of this.
Yeah, she sets up a camera to record it.
Yeah, because she's giving them their ending.
Which is what happens because Fabrizio comes out and she goes to, like in, classic horror movie fashion, she goes to shoot it and turns out there's not an actual, shell. She used both of them. So then she quickly reloads and blows his knee off. And then as he's crawling away and pleading with it, she goes, nah, the only way to really finish this movie is for you to die. So then she ends up shooting him, and that one it shows the back of his head being blown out.
Which was an awesome scene.
It really was. Great prosthetics.
Absolutely.
Then she's walking around in the woods, and some weird little kid in a bathing suit and floaties in the middle of the fucking woods runs up to her, and then she follows him to a beach full of people who all start videotaping her. Like they pull out their phones.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning that I believe that the whole purpose of this film is essentially a love letter to classic horror movies, and then it's scathing social commentary. Basically, it's showing that people don't care to help. They don't care to be of assistance. They care more about recording it, posting it online so that they get more famous instead of helping the person or the people clearly in harm's way or distress. And that's one thing I really liked about the film. However, I feel like it kind of took away from the horror aspect.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons that my score isn't as high as it could be, because personally I feel like this type of social commentary isn't necessary for horror.
So the reason that my score is so low and got lowered is because of the post-credit scene.
See, I like the post-credit scene.
I fucking hated it.
Why?
Well, because it just... I guess it was the cherry on top of what I felt was like stupidity for something that was trying to be super serious in what it was doing, and then just...
No, so that's the whole point. The film was not taking itself seriously at all.
Well, I guess that's also the reason why I don't like Cabin in the Woods, is because Cabin in the Woods I thought was supposed to be a very serious film, and I went into it thinking that it was serious, and then when it became stupid, I was like, I haven't even actually finished that movie, if we're being honest.
It didn't become stupid, and you should go back and finish it because it's phenomenal. But no, so the post or the mid-credit scene was basically, it was additional social commentary because this guy gets on the Onion browser on the dark web.
To look up blood flicks.
Yeah, to go to blood flicks to watch this snuff film, and then he
Called
dislikes it.
Horror Story.
Yeah, and then he dislikes it.
Yeah, which the social commentary is, he is us as the viewer watching this on Netflix, and we've been so desensitized to gratuitous violence that we click dislike, thumbs down.
Exactly, and I thought that was really good social commentary.
I mean, I did too, but I didn't feel like it was necessary.
No, I agree it's not necessary. I feel like it was out of place, but
Like it was really out of place.
But that being said, I still liked it. I just don't like it in the form that it was.
And I think that like the first half of the movie, I really liked. I felt like the ending kind of just came out of left field.
Absolutely.
And that was a little bit what ruined it for me. I think that 75% of this movie is great, and then the other 25%, like basically the last would say like the last 15, 20 minutes of it were really kind of just a letdown.
Yeah, it kind of dropped the ball.
Oh, it really dropped the ball.
But that being said, if you like this movie, other movies that I think you would probably enjoy is Cabin in the Woods, because it's another, very meta, self-aware horror film. You would probably also like The Hunt, which is another self-aware horror film, which could also be a comedy, depending on your perspective.
So I'm glad that you said that because I would like for The Hunt to be our next movie that we review.
I love The Hunt.
I
I'm
do too.
for sure happy to watch it again. And
Yeah, I'll watch it again. I thought, did I tell you about that one? Because I told somebody about it because I watched it and I was like, dude, this is great.
I do believe you are the one who recommended that to me, like maybe a year ago.
Sounds about right. So, would you count Scream
As a self-aware movie?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a self-aware movie, but would you say that if you liked this movie, this one's a good?
Absolutely. If you like this movie, then Scream would also be something you'd probably like, because it's got a lot of meta horror, and it's actually the origin of a lot of the meta horror, or believed to be. But we're not going to get super into that because this isn't a Scream episode.
Right.
But it is the pinnacle of horror.
It is. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, if we're being like completely honest, if I would say like the pinnacle of horror for me is either it's a toss up between the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, none of the remakes, and the original Scream. I think that those are two that have had a also Hellraiser.
Hellraiser's
really
phenomenal.
Like Hellraiser. That's what got me into Clive Barker.
Yeah. Have you read Heart of Darkness? Or I'm sorry.
Hellbound Heart?
Yes. Heart of Darkness is something entirely different.
You mean that book that's somewhere behind you? It's somewhere up there. I promise I have it.
Word. Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah, it's great. So good. But yeah. I mean, so what did you really like about this movie though?
So
what was the thing that really stood out to you?
So one thing that I really liked about this movie, and if I had to say that like my favorite things would probably be the homages paid on the RV ride at the very beginning.
So real quick, let's just go over like what did you find specifically that they paid homage to?
So they definitely did Child's Play.
Child's Play.
When 1 second, let me look at my notes here. When Fabrizio makes the Chucky's famous line, "We'll be friends till the end." And then they did an Evil Dead reference when they were doing trivia, because they were talking about Sam Raimi.
Oh yeah, because he says probably the best line in the whole movie. We pulled up to Sam Raimi's house.
Yeah,
that was great. It could also be a Spider-Man reference.
It's not.
It could be. Sam Raimi did do Spider-Man. Let's not forget that. And he's doing the new Doctor Strange movie.
Right.
Which that could be a horror movie. I might count that as a horror movie.
Morbius looks like it might be a horror movie.
I don't know if Morbius is going to be good, though.
I'm not going to give my opinion on that, but it looks like it could have horror elements.
I mean, maybe, but anyway, it's a totally different movie.
Absolutely.
But what else did you like? Or what else were the other references that you got? Because I got Midsummer from the table scene.
Yeah.
And then Texas Chainsaw because her hands were nailed like the girl. And then also they turn around and chastise her by making fun of her. Much like the family does when she starts crying in the movie.
Exactly.
Friday the 13th because it's taking place at a summer camp. Might be a stretch, but I feel like it was heavily inspired by
it was heavily inspired by all the classic horror movies, because like you said, there are Texas Chainsaw elements. There's some scenes that appear to be almost hostile like.
Okay, so that's what I was going to talk about. And I needed to remember the dude's name because I can't remember it off the top of my head. If you said it, so I thought this was like really paying homage to the 60s, 70s, 80s Italian exploitation horror films, because it's what it felt like at times.
Right.
And Ruggiero Deodato, the dude who did one of my all-time favorite movies, Cannibal Holocaust. I felt like that was something. The direction that they went with it, the way they directed it, I felt like that was very heavily inspired by him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That wouldn't be a surprising thought.
Because he's a pretty popular Italian horror movie. I know that, or horror film director, and I know that Italy doesn't really have very many of those. The other one that I can think of is the Salau or 120 Days of Sodom.
Huh?
You ever watch that movie?
I've not, but I've heard about it.
Oh, it is a great social commentary on fascism. If you can get through the movie, it's on my video nasties list. I think is what Britain calls them. But yeah, would you dislike?
So, like I said, I like the social commentary. I just felt like it was out of place based on the way the movie was going. Like, I feel like it was too much of a tonal shift.
And it kind of, I mean, it kind of came out of left field.
Yeah, it kind of pulled me out of it. Well, that's what I mean by the tonal shift.
Well, yeah, for our viewers at home.
But beyond that, I really liked everything. I watched it both dubbed and subbed. The first time I watched it was subbed because that's generally what I prefer.
Right, I want to watch it in its native language.
Exactly. And if you haven't seen it, and we've obviously spoiled it at this point, I would recommend watching it subbed over dubbed simply because, in my opinion, the dubbed isn't as good. The voice actors don't appear as good.
Well, in my experience for watching any foreign film, if you watch it subbed, it is infinitely worse because the voice actors
You mean
don't
dubbed?
care.
You mean dubbed?
I'm sorry, dubbed. I don't know why I get those confused. I think of like sub as like a substitute, for it. So
Sub is subtitled.
Subtitles. That's I don't know.
And dubbed is dubbed over.
I'm kind of stupid.
No, that's
So-
not what I'm trying to say.
That's okay. But yeah, I just I'll take what is it? Squid Games is like a great example of something that I will not watch in anything but Korean because the English voice actors are like, "Oh god damn it." And I don't know how this movie is if you dubbed it and I don't want
It's
to
not
know.
as good.
Is it like, "Oh no, I can't believe we're at a cabin."
No, it just doesn't feel right. It feels weird.
Yeah, because they're not into it. Like that's the thing; they're never into it. These voice actors, I guess, get paid to do the English version, obviously, and then they just read from a script and don't put any emotion, or they put way too much emotion into it, and you're like, "Yeah, that's a little weird, guys."
Yep, definitely feels out of place. Another movie that I feel like the original audio is way better is another Netflix film. Actually, it's The Platform. I don't know
think
if
I've
you've seen that.
I have not. I don't think
It's
so.
very, very solid. I wouldn't necessarily call it 100% horror, but it's pretty good. It's got horror elements, but I think it's also mostly social commentary.
Which I don't think that social commentary in a horror movie is a bad thing.
No, I don't either. I think it does. I think it handles social commentary better than this.
And that I think was my biggest complaint with this movie is that it tried to implement social commentary in a movie that didn't necessarily need it. And even if you had to because Scream puts social commentary in, right? But it doesn't
Well-
overtly throw it at you and say this is what we're doing.
Well, most horror movies have some version of social commentary. My issue with this one isn't that it's there. It's I feel like the way they implemented it,
Because
which is what you're saying as well.
Yeah, because they throw it at you by going, "Oh, can't you know that we're in a classic horror movie?" I mean, if they had have just made quips, or if you would have had, like in Scream, for instance, you have that one character who knows what's going on and is like a big horror fan.
Good old
If-
Randy.
Yeah, so if Fabrizio had have been Randy, it would have been okay because he was saying things, and I was like, okay, so this is going to be a movie that's going to play off of horror cliches, and it does. It plays off of a lot of horror cliches.
Super well.
It does. That's its strong point. If it had have said, fuck the social commentary, I don't want to do that, I just want to play off cliches, I would have gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, my rating would have probably also gone up had it just ended when she killed Fabrizio.
Right. That should have, I mean, even if I mean, because I did kind of like the ending where it is heavily implied that she's had a change and is going to keep the baby because she's bleeding out. And she goes into the
And it
water
walks
and
into the
bleeds
water,
out.
it clears, purifies her.
Right, and she
Right.
grabs her stomach. I thought that was okay, and even the ending part was fine. I don't know. I think my whole issue with it is it's a snuff film by the mafia.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Why? It was just a really weird choice.
Exactly. No, I could not agree more.
If it had been anything else, like again, if they were dead, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are a couple movies that I think that we could possibly do next. Have you seen No One Lives?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so I will go ahead and just say that it is made by WWE.
I mean, that could be fun. See No Evil was made by WWE and it was solid
Oh, it was
with
it?
Kane.
I think this is a great movie. I really do. It was one of those that I watched and I was like, oh shit. So I think I have it on DVD. If I don't, I'll figure out how to watch it because we can either do that or the Hunt because I really love the Hunt.
The Hunt would be solid.
I think so too. We might just fuck it. We're gonna do the Hunt. We can do No One Lives later.
Absolutely.
Just add that to the list because I really want to do the Hunt. I really like that movie.
Yeah, it's very fun.
But so I guess, what do you want to babble about today, Bailey?
So I don't have anything really specifically planned for Bailey's Babble today. However, I think it would be really interesting to talk about our top 5 favorite kills just in the history of horror. And we haven't talked about us doing this beforehand, so Taylor's on the spot here.
I am on the spot,
But it's
that's
going to
fine.
be me asking him.
Well, see, that's the point of the Bailey's babbles and the Taylor talk, is you don't know what we're going to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are your top 5 favorite deaths, Taylor?
Oh, number one, I can tell you right off the bat, the best death in the history of all movies is Halloween Kills, where the girl shoots herself in the face because she gets the gun hit from the door that Michael kicks. That is 100% the best death ever. Number two would probably have to be the alligator death in X.
Oh, that's a very, very solid one.
The whole build up to that was great. Number three, one that I was the only person I got in trouble actually because the people that I was with looked at me and told me to shut the fuck up because I laughed at it. Was the elevator death in the Belko experiment? Have you ever seen that movie?
I haven't.
Okay, so there's this girl who survives all this shit, and she's in an elevator, and the elevator's going down, and then as soon as the doors open, this dude just fucking shoots her. And I laughed. I was the only person that laughed in the theater, and I got in serious trouble
That's funny.
because people are with like, shut the fuck up, it's not funny. I'm like, dude, that was pretty funny. That's definitely my top three. What would be another one that really stands out to be in my top five? Oh, it's not really a kill. I was gonna say the. Actually, no, that is a kill. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of it. House of a Thousand Corpses. I can't think of his name. Rainn Wilson gets turned into the fish boy.
So that's not a kill, but that's definitely awesome.
Okay, I was gonna let because like you don't actually see it, but he technically does die because that's one that's just really stuck with me.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So if you actually want to kill Frank's death, number 4 would be Frank's death in Hellraiser.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's solid.
Yeah, that
Where
one
he gets ripped
really
apart.
stuck. Oh, with the hooks in there, that one stuck with me, and I was like, that's just really fucking cool.
Absolutely.
And then number 5, I'm gonna cheat a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna cheat, and it's okay. Every single death in the Evil Dead series.
Okay.
Because those are so over the top and great that you remember them. If I had to pick like a specific one, I would definitely say Army of Darkness, Ash versus Evil Ash, where he clones himself and then kills him, and then he comes back as Evil Ash.
Yeah, no, that's super solid.
Yeah, those would be my top 5, I guess. If you want like more traditional kills, let me think real quick. I'm trying to think about like my favorite horror movies. And honestly, Halloween Kills isn't even on my favorite horror movies
No,
list.
I
I
didn't
actually
like
hate
it.
that movie, but
Yeah,
that kill is just perfection.
agreed.
So yeah, I guess that'd be mine. Will be your top five?
So it's super hard to say my top five. This isn't in any specific order because,
No,
it's hard for me to do that.
doesn't matter. You have to. I made them in order. You have to make them in order.
Right, no, I'll put them in an order, but I just want the listeners to know that this isn't necessarily my final definitive feelings. So,
It should be.
so one kill I really liked was Freddy versus Jason, and it's the bed kill.
Oh, the sleeping bag kill.
No, that was Jason X.
Oh, that was okay. I'm changing my answer. Number 5 is not that. It's definitely the sleeping bag kill because I totally forgot about that. But it makes me laugh every fucking time I watch it.
Yeah, that's solid. No, I'm talking about Jason X, where it's pretty close to the beginning of the movie.
Jason X or Freddy versus Jason?
Freddy versus Jason. Did I say Jason X?
You did. I got you on that one.
Yeah, you threw me off. But Freddy versus Jason, and it's pretty close to the beginning of the movie, where Jason comes into the room and they're laying on the bed and he stabs the dude and then he folds the bed so the guy is folded backwards
Was that in that movie?
in the bed. Yeah, that was Freddy versus Jason. It was like the third or fourth kill, I think.
Oh shit. Okay, I didn't realize that was what that was. Friday the 13th has a lot of really interesting kills.
Well, my next kill is actually comes from Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th part 3, and it's the arrow through the eye scene.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's
it's not the most gruesome, it's not the most bloody, but I think it's super well done. It's by far one of my favorites.
that's the best kill in that movie. I would say. I think that's the best kill.
Oh, definitely in that movie. I think
Number-
it's probably the best kill in all of the solo Friday the 13th.
Ooh, gonna have to
movies.
argue with you on that one and say that the pitchfork into
That was a solid one.
that would be my favorite. If I took all the Friday the 13th, that's it.
Okay, well then how can Jason X with the sleeping bag kill be in your top 5 and that one isn't?
Because Jason X doesn't count. That wasn't a Friday the 13th movie. That was Jason X.
I mean, that's fair. Another kill that I liked, probably my number 3, would be the bathtub kill in Child's Play. I want to say it was Bride of Chucky,
You know, I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
where he
have
kills
not seen
Jennifer
it.
Tilly by pushing the bathtub, or by
I-
pushing the TV in the bathtub.
I've only seen the first Child's Play. I haven't seen any of the others.
Oh, dude, they are so good.
I didn't really enjoy the first Child's Play, so I didn't watch the others. I thought that it was okay.
No, they are so good. Like, they aren't good as in, like, it's not quality horror that'll scare you, but it's good as in it's funny, and it's cheesy, and it's
Okay.
good fun. And Jennifer Tilly is a beautiful, beautiful woman, and if she ever hears this, I just want her to know that I love her.
So can I have an honorable mention
Yeah, of course.
in my top 5? Since you said TV, what is it? Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Welcome to primetime, bitch.
Yeah, that's a super solid one.
That's my honorable mention because I don't think that it quite is on the same level as the other ones, but man, is it close. Or what's your number 4?
So have you've seen Saw, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen all of them?
Yeah, love them.
So do you remember which Saw it was where the lady had her hands in the
Acid number 2.
yes, the hands in the acid? That was super dope.
So I don't know. I don't know. The kill was I didn't from like a Saw standpoint. I hated it because there was no way for her to actually win because even though she undoes the lock,
She's still not free.
she's still not free.
Yeah.
Didn't like that.
No, I mean I don't like that, but I thought it was cool.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah, okay, I can give you that one. I mean, number 5. Oh, come on, you got something. There's got to be something. Like the coolest death scene.
No, I'm trying to think. Well, the thing is, I don't want to give something super cliche because like one that I really liked was Johnny Depp's death scene in the first Nightmare on Elm Street
Oh, yeah.
with the bathtub of blood,
Mhm.
and the way they did that effect was super cool with the miniature upside down room or the miniature spinning room.
I don't think that that's cliche. I mean, it's a very, and I think that if you were to be cliche, you would say Tina's death. That would be cliche.
Scoff.
Yeah, that would be cliche. But you could say Johnny Depp's death. That's fine.
Yeah, I thought that was super solid.
I
So
think it is too.
I would argue that those are probably my top 5, not in any specific order.
I can't believe you didn't put the Halloween Kills.
It just, I don't know, dude. I didn't, because of how little I like that movie, it had affected my ability to like the kills.
Oh, I hate that movie. Like, if I was to rate that movie, it'd get a 1 out of 5. Easy.
Yeah, I would probably give it a 2 because I'm, just because I have a dislike of it doesn't mean I'm going to say that the kills weren't good. Some of them were good.
Oh, it gets a 1 because of the kills.
That's
If there were no deaths in that movie,
you would get a 0.
it would definitely get a fucking 0.
I don't know if you can do that on a scale from 1 to 5.
I can, because this is a Roger Ebert scale, so, and I'm pretty confident he's rated something at 0 before, or tried to at least.
I mean, that sounds like a hard fact to me.
It is a hard fact. Also, did you have any hard facts about this movie?
No, I didn't really. Other than the folklore that it was based off of the three brothers is based off of the actual origins of the mafia.
Yeah, there's very little trivia about this movie, if we're being honest.
Yeah. But beyond that, next week we're likely covering The Hunt. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, The Hunt, we can do that. Unless there's something that you wanted to
The
do.
Hunt's beautiful. It works.
It is.
So I'm Bailey.
And I'm Taylor.
And this has been Two Idiots, One Podcast. Thank you very much.
Bye.